Hidalgo de Sangre, ancestral honor from Asturias to the Americas. For centuries, the rugged valleys of Asturias preserved a unique class of hereditary nobles known as Hidalgos de Sangre, nobles by blood, whose status was not granted by a king, but recognized by the community itself. Among these ancient houses stood the Longoria family, rooted in the parishes surrounding Miranda de Aviles. Their nobility was not a privilege purchased, nor a reward for a single heroic act. It was solarigo, meaning tied to ancestral land, reputation, and memory. The Longorias and other Asturian families did not become nobles. They were born into a lineage already known for honor. To be a Hidalgo de Sangre meant your family had been noble desde tiempo inmemorial. Your status was recognized by neighbors, clergy, and municipal officials. Your lineage was tied to the Reconquista-era free families of northern Spain. Your house was considered de solar conocido, a known noble home. The Reconquista was a centuries-long series of campaigns by Christian kingdoms to reclaim Iberian territories from Muslim rule, lasting from 718 to 1492. The Spanish on the plaque reads, Casa de Solar Conocido. Esta antigua casa Hidalga de Sangre conocida en cuyo solar ese ennoblecieron generaciones. Meaning, house of known lineage. This ancient noble house of recognized blood, upon whose estate generations were ennobled. Our Longoria ancestors had this status reflected in the Justifications de Hidalguía records. For Pedro de Longoria in 1659. Translation. In the city of Oviedo on the 18th day of the month of June in the year 1659, before the honorable officials and witnesses named below, appeared Pedro de Longoria and Antonio and Dona Corme de Valdez, residents of this city and of Miranda. The presbyter, Christian elder, Pedro de Longoria, acting as procurator, legal representative, and citizen of grace, declared that he is a native of Miranda and that he appears in previous registers as a Hidalgo de Sangre, descendant and legitimate successor of the house and estate of Longoria. He requested that his name and those of his legitimate sons, Rodrigo, Pedro, Diego, Francisco, and Antonio, be entered in the civic register of this city under the noble estate, as they are of legitimate marriage and descent. The officials certify that the record has been reviewed and closed by the appointed registrars, Don Martín Mabel de Prada and others, and that the House of Longoria is recognized as a Casa y Solar Conocido, known noble house. In witness thereof, this record is signed and sealed on the 18th day of June, in the year 1659. What it meant to be a Hidalgo de Sangre. In early modern Spain, nobility came in several forms. But the two most important are Hidalgo de Privilegio, or title granted by the crown for service or payment, and Hidalgo de Sangre, title inherited from ancient lineage, recognized by community. The Longorias belong to the second category, a lesser form of nobility but in many ways a more prestigious and ancient form. Notably the kings of Spain, including the current one and his family, are Hidalgo de Sangre. Being a Hidalgo was not symbolic, it carried real legal weight at the time. Tax exemption. Hidalgos were exempt from pechos, the taxes paid by commoners. This is why our ancestors appear so carefully in Asturian census and legal records. In these records, family are listed as Hidalgos. Their status had to be reaffirmed to protect their rights. Legal protections. Hidalgos could not be tortured, imprisoned for debt, or hanged like common criminals. If a Hidalgo was to be executed, they had the right to decapitation, which was considered a noble death. Military and civic roles. Only Hidalgos could serve as military captains, municipal officials, members of prestigious military orders, or representatives in local councils. Our ancestors in New Spain, captains, ranchers, settlers, and civic leaders, continued the Hidalgo tradition seamlessly. The Code of the Hidalgo. Honor above all. A Hidalgo de Sangre was expected to embody hombre de bien, a man whose word was his bond. This code emphasized courage, loyalty to family, defense of community, moral integrity, and service to the crown. Our ancestors maintained this reputation across continents, from Asturias to Nuevo León, Camargo, Reynosa, and the Texas frontier. When members of the Longoria and other Hidalgo family lineages crossed the Atlantic, they carried more than a surname. They brought with them their noble status, their military traditions, their leadership roles, and their reputation as men of quality. In the harsh frontier of northern New Spain, these traits shaped entire communities. Our ancestors became founders of settlements, ranching pioneers, military defenders, and civic leaders. Their Asturian identity, free, noble, and resilience, became part of the DNA of the borderlands. The legal privileges of Hidalgos are long gone, but the legacy remains powerful. Our family maintained noble status for centuries through wars, plagues, and political upheaval. Being a Hidalgo de Sangre ties our lineage directly to the foundational history of Spain. Pedro de Longoria's listing in the Justifications de Hidalguía, 1470–1854, is exactly the type of documentation used to prove noble status. Our ancestors, men, women, and their children, were recognized, formally and publicly, as people of standing, leadership, and integrity. This is not myth. This is documented history. There are many different variations of the Longoria coat of arms. Here is the most recognized coat of arms from Asturias, Spain, the version most consistently cited in heraldic registries and noble proofs. The heraldic description is a field or background of gold, symbolizing generosity and high virtue. The charge, a rampant lion, a red lion standing upright, armed with tongue and claws in blue, azure. It details, the lion bears 5 blue quinnas or small shields, each with silver dots arranged in a cross pattern, a nod to Iberian heraldic tradition. The crest is a silver knight's helmet with gold accents, topped by a red and white plume and surrounded by red and white mantling in acanthus scrolls. The motto banner, Longoria, in Gothic script on a parchment scroll below the shield. This design traces to Tineo, Asturias, where the Longoria family proved its nobility before the Royal Audiencia of Oviedo in 1773, and the orders of Santiago and Alcántara in the 18th century. It symbolizes the family's enduring recognition as Hidalgos de Sangre.